All right, good morning. Get started right away here. Looks good here, okay. All right, so new month, new trading setups. So today we're gonna go over some pound pairs and some Kiwi pairs. We're gonna set up everything for the month. I like to go through all my charts beginning of the month, set up, all my parameters and look for my long-term positions based on the month. If you can focus your trading on a monthly aspect, you'll usually do better because you're going to take less trades and you're going to take bigger trades. So starting off here, we got pound Swiss, some zones here we can get rid of. So pound Swiss, okay, I love the Swiss pairs. So I love the Swiss pairs because they seem to move consistently in the right direction that I want them to move. So pound Swiss is bearish. You can see it was respecting this area, came down, broke it, and is now retesting it. So that's a good sign that we're going to have a trade here soon, but let's just clean up these lines here. I have an alert on this line, but I can delete that alert here. Delete. And so we got to figure out our monthly moves here based on the range. So it is about 400 pips, and it did it last month really, really well. So these are our monthly range lines here. And what I like to do is just pick a whole number. So 112.5 will be our monthly whole number. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just gives us an idea of its normal range and what we can expect from it. So there's this zone here, but we can delete this for right now. We'll delete this little line here. So we're looking at our monthly setup here, and we'll put a line here so we know when September starts. So this is our full month perspective. You can see price is coming into the zone already and pulling back and rejecting. Still 8 hours left on that candle, so plenty of time. But then we have this area that it's going to have to break. This is a major area that it has respected. I'm going to actually bring this up a little bit. And then, so we're going to have to break this area, which means we're going to need a lot of volume going into it in order to break, but I definitely think can do it. I think I looked at all the other pound pairs the last couple days, and I think they're all losing their strength, so that's good that every other pair is correlating. So as far as the trade comes, I do believe there's one setting up as we speak. So you would want to set, your entry here, but then you gotta figure out all the variables first. So, our entry would be at this zone because it is now respecting it. You can see that, it's still below the moving average, so it's still bearish. So we're going with the trend, which is nice. All the other Swiss pairs are bearish as well. And I like to block this out and, figure out that, and make sure that I know that I'm looking at a full month here. So it's but again, price can move its full monthly move. So let's say 400 pips is what pound Swiss usually moves in a month, but it can do that in a week, and it usually does via the impulsive moves, and you can see it kind of here. This didn't take long. I guess this took almost 2 weeks, but 400 pips in 2 weeks, which is the entire monthly range, but it usually does it in a shorter time frame than that. And then the other 2 weeks of the month usually just consolidates or retraces a bit, but the bulk of the movement will happen in the first week or two, or the 2 weeks of the month. So what we got to do is we got to find an entry now. So it's at this zone, which is a good start for an entry. Price is still below the 4 hour moving average, so it's still heavily bearish, which is nice. You can see a bearish candle printing here, which is nice, but it's going to close right away, and it's not engulfing yet. So, and there's a little bit of wick, so I don't think this is the right candle to enter yet. Unless price broke this area, then we would consider it, but you could even make this a little bit longer too, because we want to be as certain as we can. We don't want to take trades that we don't need to take, and we can always wait for more confirmation. So price to break this zone would be good. It doesn't have to, but we can tighten up our criteria here. So right now there's still bullish structure, so you can see higher highs. It did dip down quite a bit here actually, but then proceeded to make another high. So especially from here, if you look from here, it's higher high, higher low, higher high. So that bullish structure is still there. So I don't want to interfere with that. I want to let it play out, let it do its thing. I need this to create some bearish structure now, something like that. So if it doesn't do that, that means that if the bearish structure doesn't take place, then it's not a bearish trade yet, so it's not worth entering. You can see price on this 1 hour is way above this moving average, so I need this to cross over as well. I'm going to set an alert here actually for that, because I need price to cross over this moving average to indicate that it actually does want to go down. So that is what we're going to wait for. Basically the trade right now is good. considering that it's hit this area and it's pulling back. Granted, there's still 8 hours left on this daily, but so as far as price movement, we're good. I just need the structure to set up now. It's hit the price that I want to. It's hit the zone that I want to take a trade from. I just want to make sure that the bearish structure is now setting in, because you can see we did have 3 blue days here, and it hasn't made a lower low since July 19th. So there's been some bullish momentum, very little, but some. So we just needed to die off. We need the bears to re-enter in order to take a short position. So that is pound Swiss. Moving on, we got pound yen, everyone's favorite. So we're going to clean this up. I do think the yen pairs have resumed, and I think they're going to be long again. Pound yen, I don't know how much, because like I said in the last pair, pound Swiss, the pound is weakening, I believe. So pound yen might not move as much, but because the pound is still quite a bit stronger than the yen, I think it'll still move up pretty good. So we got to figure out our ranges here. So pound yen moves about 800 pips a month, so pretty wild. That is a lot. So we're going to move these up here. We're going to figure out, as far as like right now, and again, these don't have to be perfect, but we want to figure out kind of where our monthly lows might be. So we'll shoot for 182 right now. This line is way up here. Okay. So we'll put 182 as our low for the month. And then 190, this is just based on the high and the low projected and the monthly range of 800 pips. So we do see a lot of bulls coming in. We got 3 big blue candles. Well, today's is still small, but it's coming in. There's still 8 hours. Price is still way above the moving average, so this is definitely still bullish, so that's good. We'll put a line here so we know where September is. We're looking at a monthly outlook. You don't have to necessarily take the trade and hold it all month. You can take mini trades within the big trade, but you wanna figure out the big perspective. I got much better at trading once I slowed things down and I looked at the big perspective instead of trying to scalp 5-10 pips here, which, I mean, there are scalp traders, don't get me wrong, you absolutely can do it. I sucked at it, and you're going to take a lot more entries, which means a lot more possible losses. So I don't like that. I like targeting big moves, 400, 500, 600 pips, and then if I only take half of that, if let's say we buy here, price gets to here and it's iffy, then you just get out and you only made 200-300 pips, but you only took 1 entry. So to me, that's much better. Okay, so our first area that we're going to have to consider is this, which is its most recent high. It's going to have to break this, which I think it can do. Now we're going to have to look for an area of entry. So we can see that big bullish momentum leg here. I want to look, I'm just curious, we're going to check out to see if there is our 50% retracements way down here, which it absolutely could hit, and actually this looks pretty good. So with that being said, this is going to be our first area of consideration. You can see it was really respected on this 4 hour, and that would be a healthy pullback. We had this nice big bullish leg. We're now starting a new month, so this might want to pull back a bit. So our monthly low might be quite a bit lower than 182, which I don't mind that. So I would move this down a little bit to 180. Again, a nice whole number. So we'll put these here, and then we'll figure out, and again, if price breaks this area here right away, then we'll move these up and we'll figure out a trade that's like something like this, because the bulls have already re-entered. If they've smoked this zone and they've already re-entered, we're good to go to enter the trade. But if price is going to take its time, let's say this week is going to be a little bit slow, it's not breaking this zone, it's trickling down, then this is our main area that we're looking for. So as it stands, I'm looking for something like this, and I'm going to target this full monthly range, get those 800 pips. We're going to put this to here, below this zone here. Obviously this is just to show, I don't usually use stop losses, but this is just to show a good risk to reward, and where you would kind of place both your profit and your stop loss. So you place your stop below this zone of entry and liquidity. So if price comes down here, let's say it starts wicking, you set your stop below this zone or below the wicks. If there's a bunch of big wicks, let's say they come down to here, you would put your stop just below that and adjust it accordingly. And then after price comes down here, you let the bullish momentum come back in. You make sure that all your moving averages line up, all the structure, you see higher highs and higher lows on the lower time frames, and then you enter your position. So that's something we're gonna have to wait for. I'm going to put a an alert there, and then we will enter that, when the time comes. So we'll watch pound yen for a while, and we'll see if it breaks this upper area, then we'll enter early. Or if it just takes its time and it heads lower, we'll wait for this zone. Or if it sets up, some support in between here and here, we can look for that. If 3 days in a row, let's say like right here with this wick here, if they make a couple wicks, then we'll look for an entry there too. So we'll wait that out on pound yen. Pound kiwi, okay, so real flat here. We will move this. Pound kiwi does move a lot as well, and I do think the pound pairs are losing their momentum. I wrote big short coming. I'm going to keep that there. Just to keep in mind, you can see on the monthly, this month is today, but as of the last 2 months, this is really ugly. Hold on, I'll clean this up here. We can see what we're looking at. On the monthly, you got a lot of wicks here. You got this nice wick area, and that's why I wrote that big short coming. So it's also testing monthly crazy. So I'm looking for a short here, and not yet, because price is still bullish. It's still above this moving average, and it is actually making it's making higher lows, sorry. So, but I do think eventually it's going to crack. It's just squeezing out as much buyers as we can here. See prices, it's really filling this zone, but it's not breaking this 209 area. So looking at the monthly range, our average ATR is about 700 pips still. So you're looking at about 202 here. That is our monthly range. You're looking for something like this. And because you are counter trend trading, there's some risk there for sure. But if we can catch this trend switch, then you make a lot of money real quick. So what we want, price already hit this zone, so that's a good sign. Seems to be rejecting on the daily, also good sign. Now what we want to wait for is our structure to change. So right now, price is above this moving average on the 4 hour. So that means it's bullish. You're producing higher highs, right? Higher high, and lower lows. These are pretty even, but still, I would consider this still lower lows. You got a big bullish 4 hour candle going into this zone, and only a small bearish 4 hour candle pulling back. So I would still say that there's bulls here, and you got this 1 hour moving average. Price is above it. So based on this, I would say there's still too many bulls in this market to consider shorting it yet, although this candle's printing real nice. I would set an alert here on the 1 hour and wait for price to cross over this moving average before checking it out again and seeing if it makes sense to enter yet. By all means, you could get in now, or let price come back up to 208, and make sure you place your stop above all these wicks here, above this zone, and then you're just banking on the fact that price is not going to go above this zone. It's definitely not going to close above it. So as of right now, you'd get like a 4.5 to 5 R, which pretty good. But you can wait, and you can really dial it. If you wait a little bit longer, you can dial in your entry like I'm going to do, and figure out exactly when price action switches. So like right now, there's still bullish price action. You can see this bull leg on the 1 hour. So I want to see something like this. If I can see something like this, then we're good to enter. And then I would just tighten up my stop. I would put it probably below this area, below today's wick, above today's wick, just kind of like mid zone here. And I would shoot for something like this. Now you're looking at a 10 plus R, just by waiting a little bit longer, waiting for that, the structure to confirm your entry kind of thing, and then you're looking at a much better reward. So I would wait for this. This is coming up very soon. So I'm going to mark this as well, because this is a good trade and it's happening relatively quick. So that is pound kiwi. Pound dollar, okay. So these dollar pairs are bullish, way above this moving average, but like I said, the pound is weakening a bit. So we're gonna have to wait here for a few things. We'll set up this chart here, and we'll figure out our monthly range. I do still think it's bullish, but you can see last month didn't close very well. So, well, actually, this is where it gets iffy. So last month didn't close well, and there is a resistance line here. So I would actually, and because I do think the pound is relatively bearish, I would say, I'm going to delete this because it's in my way. I'll just remember that it's there. I would say I'd be looking for a short position on pound USD. Counter trend trading, so you got to make sure your entries are good, but that would be my take. So it moves about 500 pips in a month, well, about 550, which I think I have set up here. Yeah, moves about 550. So find our high in our low area here. Something at like 129 is probably right. You can see this daily is already breaking this recent low here. So 129, 123.5, 500 pips, 550. And then what we got to do is figure out an entry. So you can see price has definitely got some bearish structure on this 4 hour. So makes its leg, pulls back up, new lows, comes up, new lows. Well, it's retesting this area here. But my entry is going to be right here. As of right now, something like this, where it had some recent resistance. I want price to come back up here, retest it, and then head back down. So, and price did just break below this 4 hour moving average. So even though it is bearish on, it's bullish on the daily, it's now bearish on the 4 hour. So it's a good sign that the momentum is switching. If you look on the 1 hour, way below it. So I would look for something like this. Today is printing a pretty big candle. It's got about 20 pips left to move in the daily range. So we'll most likely pull back a little bit relatively soon. You can see there's some bottoms here that it might run into and then pull back a bit. So no rush on this one. We can see a lot of bearish momentum though, which is nice. But I want it to pull back a bit. I want it to pull back a bit to this zone. And then just to make sure, and then we'll make sure that our structure and everything else aligns, the 1 hour, the 4 hour, all that. And then we will target this bottom zone, which might be a stretch. We don't know if price will make it this low, but then you would be testing the moving average very close. So I do think the dollar itself is also pulling back, which would push this pair upwards based on those fundamentals. But I don't think it's enough to overcome the fact that the pound is losing its value. So we gotta wait for price to come back up to here, get an entry, make sure structure shifts, and then place stops. If we're gonna use stops, we'll place them above this zone. And you're looking for a 10 plus R, 10 times make 10 times the money you're risking, which is good. There's a mini zone here, so this would be nice for price to break on the 4 hour. Shrink this down a little bit. So you need price to break this area here. I'm gonna set an alert, and that's if price breaks this area and keeps going, then we can consider a trade with the momentum down here, because there is some bearish momentum for sure. You can see this came down, came back up, pressing down again, big 4 hour candles below the moving average. So there is quite a bit of bear momentum in this already, but I would just like to see a little bit more structure set up, pull up and then pull back down kind of thing. Especially if we can get back into this zone, then we get a much better risk to reward. And you can see that there's actually some daily wicks here, whereas right here there's none. So we don't know where the resistance is down here, but we know there's resistance up here. So I would like to enter up here ideally. So that is pound dollar. Okay, we'll go over this Germany index because it is here. Delete this. We'll move this over. Make sure the stream is all good. Yep, this all looks good. Okay, so getting started with this German index here. We'll delete this zone because price did break it. Looking at things on the monthly and the weekly, what do we see? So last month did make new highs, did close relatively full. So this tells me it's still bullish. So although I don't know how these indexes are still bullish, but given our economic circumstances, but that is fine. We will look for a bull trade, a long position. I don't think I'll personally take it, but I'll still scope this out. I'll still mark it out. Oops. And see if anyone else can benefit from this. I just don't want to buy indexes because I believe they're very overpriced. Interest rates going up and everything everywhere. They are overpriced, and to me buying that just seems wrong, even though it can still continue to go up, and it has. So technicality wise this is a buy, but fundamentally looking at the economic situation, not a buy. But that's irrelevant in this because we are just simply trading. So we gotta look at our monthly range here. It's about 1,000 points. So we'll say our bottom is about 16,000. I do like that this lines up really nice as far as whole numbers. 16,000 is our low. It's this area here, and then our high is going to be 17,000. So that is the monthly range for this German index here, the GER 40, I guess you would call it. So we're going to look for price is clearly pulling back. It's got the bears are coming, pulling it back a bit. You got this major zone here, might not make it to, and it's pulling back after it made this huge bull run. So totally normal, totally fair. If we look at a Fibonacci of this is our 50% zone. So I would actually say that this would be your entry zone, as long as price, structure and all that price action determines the same thing. I would say this is most likely going to be a good entry area at the 50%, between the 50 and the 618. So we'll see how today and then tomorrow and possibly Thursday closes. So because ideally for me to enter this, if I was to take a long position, I need price to hit this zone and then reject. So today ideally would come down into this zone, close. Tomorrow so ideally today would come down into this zone, close outside of it. Then tomorrow there'd be another candle that's small, deep into the zone, pulls back, also close above the zone. And then on Thursday there's a bullish candle that engulfs it, and let's say comes to here. Then that tells me that the structure's setting up, the bulls have entered, they found their area that they wanted to buy, they're ready to buy it, and that's going to head higher. So that's what I would look at for an entry, something like this. So you have to wait for price and structure to set up. You need price to come back down into this zone. This one ideally, this is your main one here that we have marked, but this is your 50 to 618 based on the recent leg that has not retraced yet and is currently retracing. So what you want to see is price come down into this zone and then the structure set up. So on 1 hour, price is most likely, it might actually hold above this 1 hour, which would be a good sign. It did here. So if this starts rejecting here and holds above this 1 hour, then that might be a good enough sign that the bulls have entered. And then if not, you just wait for something. You wait for some. Let's say it does break into this zone but starts rejecting, and it does cross this moving average. It's no big deal. But you start seeing something like this. We'll make this a little bit higher actually out of this zone. You start seeing something like this, then you can tell that the price action and the momentum is shifting upwards, and then you're good on a buy there. So that is the JUR 40. We're gonna wait a little bit longer for that, and then enter the buy position, target the full monthly range, make some good money. You're looking at a 8 to 10 R, and you can always adjust your stop accordingly. Once price enters this zone, and you can kind of see where it's rejecting, you would just set your stops below that price, and then usually good to go. So that is JUR 40. Moving on to the NASDAQ. Okay, everyone's favorite American stock is here. So we'll delete these. We have a major zone up here. We'll delete all these for now. Look at a kind of a clearish chart so we get a good idea, what it did on the month here. So last month, very bullish, healthy candle. Basically no pullback or anything. So I would say this month is still bullish, and I would look for an entry. As much as I hate to admit that these are still bullish, they really are. So then we have to base our trades on, going with the trend. So this moves about 1,300 points in a month, 13 to 14. Because prices are getting tight and we're getting to major zones, we're going to shoot for the lower end. So we'll shoot for 1,300 points. So we will move these accordingly. So we'll say our low is about, we want to find a nice whole number. So about 15.4 on the month would be in this zone a bit. This actually lines up really well, guys. So 15.4 is your bottom, and then if you add, what did we say, 1,300 points, the conservative, yeah, about 1,300. So you're looking at 16.7 is going to be your projected monthly high, which is right in this main zone here. So this zone is huge. This is the highest it's ever been. You can see 3 wicks here. It failed to close above 16,400 on the month multiple times back in end of November 2021. So it's most likely heading back to this zone, but we don't know if it'll break that zone. So it's gonna have to break this area first, which I don't think it'll have an issue. So as far as setting up a trade, we're gonna look at a monthly outlook here. So we're shooting for September 1st. Again, you never have to hold the trade that long, but if you can base your trade on that projection and that full monthly outlook, usually better off. So couple scenarios here. Price breaks this zone, the bulls have entered, you're ready to target this. If that doesn't happen, so you would need price to come up, pull back, reject, and then head higher. So that's trade possibility 1. I like to wait for price to come back down to a zone that it's previously rejected, because then I get a better return, and would be something like this. So let price come back down to this zone. You can see that there's some higher wicks here, so actually what you could do is tighten this up a little bit, because you can see it did reject a little bit higher here than it did here. So you can let price come down to this zone, reject, and then look for a long entry. So you would place your stops below this zone, and then you can always adjust it later on. Once price actually does enter this zone, we can figure out kind of where it's rejecting, and then if we want to tighten up our stops a little bit, we can, to get a better risk to reward. If you're using a stop loss, then you do that. And then what we need to see is we need to see price come down to this zone, obviously, and then we need to see the structure change, because right now, because if it comes down to this zone, then it's, you know, that's presenting bearish structure, and you can see as of right now it's not going higher on the 4 hour, it's heading lower. So, and now it just recently broke, you know, this area here. You can see this candle's breaking. It's about half hour before it closes, so there is some bears here, but you can see you can see higher lows here, so there is some bullish structure as well going on. So you want to find where everything crosses over and aligns with, you know, all your moving averages are consolidating together, and they're all coming together, and, you know, price is looking the way you want it to look. So come down to here, reject, and then look for taking your long position. But you need to see structure come down, and then you need it to switch. So you want to see, right now you're seeing lower lows, you want price to hit here and then start seeing higher highs as far as price structure goes. So that was going to be the NASDAQ. Delete these for now. We want to see price come down to here first, or if it broke this zone, then I would consider a buy early on. But if it doesn't, and I don't think it is, you can see right now this daily candle is engulfing, and it's bearish engulfing, and the market hasn't even opened yet. Still about 6 minutes left before the market opened. So that's the NAS 100. I do think it's still a good buy. Technical wise, I think we just gotta wait for it to come down to our zone or close to, and then you know, enter that. So that's the NAS. Okay, Kiwi CAD. I do like my Kiwi pairs as well. They move consistently. So delete that. Price is still bearish below this moving average. So we look on the monthly, you know, big wick, rejection. It's got to break this zone here, which is a little bit significant, but I don't think it'll have an issue. We're looking at our monthly range. It's about 350, I would say, give or take. So we will move these to here. We're going to figure out a zone here. I do like this one already, actually, so that's a good sign. Right here. And of course, this lines up perfectly. Whole level wise, you're looking at about, you know, 82. Quite possibly could have already hit the high of the month. So, and then what do we say? 350 pips is about the monthly range. Yeah. So that puts us at 78.5. So that's your 350 pip range. It's gonna have to break this major zone. We're gonna look for, you know, monthly outlook. So we're gonna target, you know, September 1st, it's the start of the month today, and then we're gonna target the end of the month. Towards the end of the trade, so it's gonna have to break this zone. I can already see that there's some significance here as well, which it is about to do actually. It's entering this little area here, a 4 hour, a little bit uglier, but it is there. So that doesn't really matter yet. It will break that zone, I'm sure. You can see just a lot of rejection in this area at this 82 level. So price loves whole levels. So this is a very good sign already that the bears have already entered, and they're ready to just dominate this month. So honestly, you could get in this already. Ideally you would have got in a little bit higher, but I mean, now is fine. If you want to wait for price to come back up to this zone right around 81.9, you could add to your position. You know, it would come up an extra 30 pips, then you would get in on that, get a little bit better risk to reward. Keep your stops above this zone if you're going to use a stop, and then, you know, target. Right now this setup would give you about a 7 risk to reward, which is really good and worth it, I think. You can see that the bearish structure has already taken place. Price was above this moving average on the 4 hour, kept above it, now broke below, now is rejecting it, rejecting. You can see all these candles, and so the bearish momentum has already set in, back in for this pair. It's overall very bearish on the daily moving average, 200-day daily moving average. So I'd say you're good to enter this short now. And then, you know, maybe enter now, set an area up here, set an alert, and then if price comes back into this area, sell some more, and then kind of, you know, average into your position that way. Dollar average it. Could totally do that. But yeah, that's Kiwi CAD. Definitely bearish. Definitely looking to short it on the month. So Kiwi Swiss, my favorite Swiss pairs. Okay, so way below this moving average. Definitely bearish. Looking for some areas here where we would like to sell it. Some supply, some liquidity areas. So very similar to the pound Swiss we looked at earlier. You can see this major level that price respected, you know, respected here, 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 and then finally broke and is now seeming to respect it again on the downside here. So I would wait for price to come back into this zone a little bit. You can see this candle came close, but we can wait a little bit longer. As far as yesterday goes, there's a big bullish engulfing candle that engulfed this last little guy here. So there is still some bull momentum in this current pair. So I want that to phase out before I enter a short. We're gonna have to figure out our monthly range here that what we want to target. So it's about 250 pips. So that being said, 250 pips, we'll move these down. We'll find a whole number in here, probably about 54.5. And then what do we say, 250 pips? Just double check here. Yeah, 250. So our target for the month is 52. This is our monthly high, this is our monthly low projection. If price continues its trend down and moves its normal monthly range, then that is exactly what it looks like. So that being said, we got this. We'll place our stops above the zone here. Mark that down to here. We're shooting for the full monthly range. I want to make all the money possible. I don't want to leave any on the table unless I absolutely have to. But if you're disciplined, you don't usually have to leave money on the table. That's the cool thing. So we got this here. You can still see that. So price is below on the 4-hour moving average. So there's good bear momentum in the market already. But however, it has made higher lows versus this. You can see it kind of found, this is exactly what happened here. So you can see price found support here and is now bouncing back up. And so there is technically bullish structure here. Well, it's more so consolidating, but it's not bearish yet, and we need it to be bearish. So we do have a couple of big bear candles on the 4-hour here that came in and cleared out these bull guys. Two bears versus 4 bull candles. And the bears did take over. Now they are testing this little area here before probably going right back down to this area. So realistically, you probably could take a trade right away / now. I would wait because again, there's based on yesterday's big bull candle, there's still too much bullish momentum in this market, and I want price to come up to this zone. I think this is a very significant zone, and I want price to enter it. I want it to get rejected, and then I want the bears to really come into the market and take them out, and then enter that bearish position, short this pair, and make a lot of money. So that is the goal. I want it to come up here first. So I'm going to set an alert on Kiwi Swiss here, and then wait for price to come in, reject, make sure that bear structure on the 1-hour and the 4-hour takes place, then enter that short position, try to make at least 5 times my money. So that is Kiwi Swiss. Couple more, guys. So we got Kiwi Yen here. Our monthly range is about 400 pips. Might be a little bit better, but I think 4 is reasonable. So we're going to move these down to roughly here. Let's see for now. We're going to move this over because now we're targeting September. Delete this line. I do think that the this is bullish. I forgot. So this is actually going to be our monthly low, probably somewhere around here. Might set it a little bit lower. We'll say 87 is the monthly low, being conservative here. So price above this, broke this zone, which is great, is now rejecting again. So there is some good bullish momentum already in this market. Price is way above this moving average, so it is still technically bullish for sure. I don't think the Kiwi pairs are going to gain strength. However, I do think the yen is losing value dramatically. So this pair will still push up more than likely. It's going to have to break this zone though, which it is currently in today. So that needs to take place, and then we got to look for a long entry. So similar to pound yen that we looked at, this is relatively the same. So we need this to pull, or there's a good chance this pulls back to this area here based on the 50% retracement level in the 618, which is where price tends to gravitate to. And you can see that previously it found support in this area too. So after a big bull run like this did on the 4-hour, it's very normal for price to pull back, especially because it's the start of the month. Price has to settle out and figure out what it wants to do for the month. So I believe it's currently doing that. So we're going to move these down to an even number here. So you're looking at 87, and then what do we say, 500 I think is the monthly range. No, sorry, 400. So if 87 is the low for the month, then the high would be 91 based on its normal monthly range, and if it's going to continue to be bullish, which I do think it is. So we can delete this big area here, we know it's there. So our main point of entry as of right now, and things can obviously change. I mean, if price breaks this zone, then we're already in the trade, no big deal. We'll just find a position above this zone, based on break and retest. But if not, if we got some time here, and if it doesn't want to break this zone today and it wants to keep trickling down, then this is kind of our immediate area of entry. So which would place this monthly low even below this, but we'll do that right now. Just based on this, we can always adjust it if we need to, but we're gonna price our low at about, we'll say 86.5. Kind of like that better actually. So 86.5 is gonna be our monthly low as of right now, and our monthly high will be 90.5 here. So we need price to come down to here, reject. We need to see the bull structure come back into place, higher highs, higher lows on the 1 hour. So we're definitely not there yet, but like I said yesterday, big bullish candle. So it's totally possible that price breaks this area even today. Totally could happen. And then we would just reposition ourselves and take a buy, and it would be something like this. And then obviously target the the 400 pips, something like this, all the way up to like the 93 level kind of thing, 93.5, or sorry, 92.5. Our trade would look something like this if that was to happen. So if price broke, came back, rejected, then we would enter our long position for the month that way. But we just have to wait it out and see what Kiwi yen does. So that's that one. Last one. Okay, so we got Kiwi dollar. All the dollar pairs are kind of different, so really have to analyze them on an individual level. So we'll move this first, targeting September 1st. We gotta figure out what this wants to do on the month. So the dollar is bearish, but also the Kiwi might be kind of weak versus the dollar. So looking at this, price is below this moving average and is respecting it, so I would say it is bearish. I'll delete this area for now. This is our major area that we need to break. As of right now, we're going to suggest that this is bearish. Price is below this moving average. If I look on higher time frames, I can see massive wicks here rejecting the upper levels. So that suggests that it wants to go lower because it can't go higher. You have a major zone here that prices has been rejecting on the daily, but will most likely break possibly today. You can see a bearish engulfing candle here on the daily. There's still 7 hours left on it, and the markets haven't even really opened yet, but they're open, but the momentum, all the liquidity, the volatility is not in there yet. But so price could definitely break this area today, and then we would look for short positions. And so in order to do so, we need to know our monthly range. And so our monthly range based on this average true range is about 3.25, I would say, is pretty reasonable. So you move these down here, our little monthly parameters. We would set this at a little bit high. I mean, just for easy numbers here, 62.5. Actually, I think this does line up. Hold on. We'll put this to 62.25 just because it actually is a zone, and 25 is still a whole number. I mean, it's not as good as 0 or 0.5, but for this we'll consider it because the range is 325 pips, so it kind of adds up nicely. And then we're looking at 59. So that's our 325 pip range. There is a zone here. Might be easier to see on the 4 hour. 4 hours is actually worse to look at. Wow, surprising case. So there's a little zone on the daily here. Too crazy, but you can see price has been rejecting this area. Even right here, you can see rejection, big rejection, rejected again. Now bearish engulfing. So it's significant. So that's where I would actually like to place a trade, but I mean, I don't think price will come back up to here, to be honest, so it's probably not worth putting that in. You can see the structure is already setting up, so price was above this 4 hour moving average, now broke, came back up, broke again, came back up, broke again, and now is sitting below it. So far it is currently producing a higher low, so definitely no entry yet for me based on that. I mean, if price came up to this area, I would definitely short it. So honestly, being disciplined, this is what I would just still wait for, to be honest. There's no sense in taking a trade yet because of this here, because price is hitting this major zone here. So like, this is an area where people would buy, so you don't want to sell something where everyone would buy it. So I wouldn't I would not sell it yet. I would let price come back up to here, and if it doesn't, no big deal. All we got to do is just watch this the next couple days, see what price does. Maybe it comes up like this and then does this. Then, you know, you got your lower highs and your lower lows, which signals, you know, bear market structure. You got price holding below this 4-hour moving average. Ideally, it would hold below this 1 hour as well, and then you're probably good to go to short it. So that's what I would wait for Kiwi dollar, something like this. I would be disciplined. I mean, if price blows through this zone today and closes below this area, then I would look for a short position, you know, something like this. But it would have to do that first. You know, price breaks below this zone, then retest, then you enter your short position and target the month. But, you know, it'd have to do a lot of things first for me to do that. And so there's no sense in considering that yet. Kind of let it play out, let it do its thing first, let something really set up. I mean, after all, look, you got on the daily, you got higher highs and higher lows. It comes up, comes down, pulls back up higher, is pulling back. So I mean, this is actually like lining up for that structure to continue. So I don't know if that's going to happen, but you know, if you look at it just based on this recent daily price action, then you know it's a long position. But I don't think that's going to happen. I do think because price is below this moving average, you can see it rejected this area many times. So I think the overall momentum is switching to the downside. I do think it's going to sell off. I do think the bears are coming in. So that's what I'm positioning myself for. But I want price to come up first here or break this area. So that's all I got for you. Thanks for watching, guys. Appreciate you tuning in. Hopefully you learned something. If you have any questions, let me know. Please like and subscribe. Helps the channel grow. And I'll see you in the next one.